I'm not a big fan of podiums, so I'm going to try to stand here and speak into the microphone still. So I'd like to talk to you all about addressing our vehicle legacy. And really for us, what that means is, if you look at all the vehicles on the road, we have a legacy of combustion engine cars and trucks that amount to a pretty significant number of vehicles. Just by a show of hands or audience, does anyone know how many vehicles are on the road in the world today? Any guesses or ideas? 73 billion. God, I hope not. Yeah, sure. And back there, yes? Well, that's the other end of the spectrum. There's 900 million passenger vehicles on the road worldwide. Anyone know how many of those are not running on regular gasoline? What percentage of those? 0.003. Yeah, something like that. 1 in a million or something. It's incredibly small today. Despite all the press releases and everything you read and hear about, there's a very small fraction of vehicles that are not operating on conventional gasoline. So there are 900 million vehicles on the road. Does anyone know or have any ideas as to how many of those will have a plug on them by 2020? What percentage? Show of hands if you believe it's going to be more than 50% by 2020. Okay, nobody. Wow. How many people believe that maybe above 25% by 2020 plug-in vehicles on the road? Above 25%. Above 15, 10%? How many people believe it'll be above 5%? Just about everybody. A bunch of hopefuls, that's good. Well, if 10 million vehicles sell every year in North America, and there's 900 million, or excuse me, about 17 million worldwide, there's 900 million on the road, it would take almost every single car would have to sell from now until 2020 to be pure electric in order to break a 10% mark. So we would have to suddenly be just pumping out millions of electric vehicles tomorrow, and everybody would have to start buying them right away in order for plug-in hybrids or pure electric to break the 10% mark by 2020. That's a bad thing and a good thing, depending on how you look at it. This is a forecast summary showing from Credit Suisse the most optimistic adoption forecast for plug-in electric vehicles. That red bar growing is the number of pure combustion engine vehicles growing until 2030. So we're seeing 1.3 billion passenger vehicles by 2030, and 84% of those, or 1.1 billion of those vehicles, at 20 years from now, will still be 100% combustion engine. Now those engines may get more and more efficient in terms of combustion engine, but today they're like 20%, and if we doubled that and they were 40%, that would still mean they're grossly inefficient combustion engines. And there may be a fewer percentage by 2030, but the total number of pure combustion engine cars 20 years from now is going to be 200 million more than there are today. So, what I'm getting at is the problem is not getting better, it's getting worse. And that's with the most optimistic plug-in vehicle forecast I can find out there today. So this is a well-to-wheels comparison of alternative fuels. If we're going to look at some solutions, biodiesel, ethanol, hydrogen, diesel, hybrid electric, plug-in hybrid electric, the pure electric vehicle on a well-to-wheels efficiency is more than twice as efficient than the second best, which is a hybrid electric or plug-in hybrid electric vehicle. And using the current energy generation that we have today, coal, natural gas, nuclear, etc., the pure electric vehicle is more efficient than hydrogen, diesel, or any other option that we know about today. So if we're looking at this legacy of vehicles, 900 million cars on the road, they're all gasoline basically, and there's going to be more of them in 20 years, 2 decades from now, what are some solutions to dealing with this legacy of vehicles? So these are the options we know about. We have hybrids, which has a 1 kilowatt, sometimes a little bit bigger kilowatt battery. That means it can't carry very much electricity, and it only makes its electricity from burning gasoline, which you'll see about a 10% reduction from that. We have plug-in hybrids, and they vary 5 to 16 kilowatts, so they can carry a lot more electricity on board and can do a substantial better reduction in emissions. But they're actually very expensive. They're about the same price as a pure electric. So when we look at BEVs, or battery electric vehicle, or what we call at REV MDS, which is modular drive system technology, we see 100% tailpipe reduction. That means they don't burn any gasoline whatsoever. They're running on pure electricity. Now, if you look at a modular component where you could take a modular drive system and retrofit some of those 900 million gasoline vehicles, you have a less expensive solution that provides 100% tailpipe reduction. So as a result, we believe it's imperative that companies, not just REV, but more and more companies focus on this legacy of cars because the numbers are astronomical. They're far bigger than a slice of the 10 million new car sales every year that GM and Toyota and everybody fight for in North America. So the current car market, GM, Chevy, et cetera, they're focused on going with smaller cars for pure electric vehicles. In terms of any volumes, they have to sell 50,000 units of one vehicle to break even. So if they can't sell 50,000 electric cars of any one model, it's going to be a long time before we see pure electric vehicles en masse that we can adopt as consumers. So they're years away. They're not focused on fleets. Fleets have a substantial problem where they own thousands of vehicles. Their fuel costs are millions of dollars a month, and they just go like this over time, of course. In the world, there are more than 20 countries where gasoline is over $5 a gallon. So that's obviously more expensive than we pay for here in Canada already. And as I said, the internal combustion engine is going to grow in numbers for many years. So on the fleet side, looking at North America, on your right, there's 39 million passenger fleet vehicles on the road today. They average 10 miles per gallon. And the reason for that is most of them are V8 pickup trucks. They represent 38 to 65% of a city's GHG emissions, and they've got significant carbon neutral mandates that when they bring up that much emissions, they're not going to meet these mandates. And they have a service life of 8 to 15 years. So we're talking a very long period of time to make sense of buying an electric drive system, eliminating fuel costs, such as those $50,000 to $100,000 fuel costs that every fleet vehicle has over a 10-year period. And they operate in a return to base scenario. So they don't have to wait for infrastructure to take over before they can drive electric vehicles around the road. So this is one of our prototypes here. And our solution, as I described, is modular drive system technology. We're developing proprietary power control modules, patentable modular install systems, patentable plug-and-play control systems, in-vehicle networks, and all of it with a fully capable highway speed and highway capable range. So this is some of our vehicles down in California, Oregon, and Washington, visiting fleets like San Diego Gas and Electric, the Port of Long Beach, meeting with Governor Schwarzenegger and City of Inglewood. And we learned a lot from that. We have some pretty significant projects that we're engaged in right now. And this is how it makes sense. A pure electric vehicle, you cannot fall back on driving with the combustion engine or leaning on burning gasoline. You've got to plug that thing in every 3 or 4 days to make sure you can drive every day. A vehicle with a 100-mile range can solve a lot of problems for fleets and certainly for a lot of consumers. So on your left, looking at a Ford Escape in a parking enforcement scenario, these are real case study information from a city in California. Their average monthly operating costs are $675 a month per vehicle over a 10-year period. So that's equivalent of a cost per mile of 74 cents per mile. That's all the fuel, the ongoing maintenance, the engine replacements, the transmission replacements, and all of those costs that a fleet has to deal with on a vehicle-by-vehicle basis. So their total cost to operate a gas truck is $81,000 over 10 years. If you put a pure electric drive system in that vehicle from REV, or hopefully other companies like us in the future, your average monthly ownership and operating costs of that drive system, including electricity, is $481 per month. So that's a $25,000 savings of going pure electric. Of course, if you opt to put an electric drive system in those gas vehicles, you're also going to eliminate 12 tons of emissions per vehicle per year on average. You're leveling your operating costs. You're saving money, flat out saving money, and increasing the vehicle's service life. So that's why we're really excited about these companies who've taken the decision to eliminate their fuel costs and reduce their maintenance by over 90% and eliminate their tailpipe emissions. So that's my presentation. I look forward to speaking with you and hearing your questions either now or a little bit later during this panel. Thank you very much.